All right, ladies and gents, as promised, I said I'd do a video just to recap all of section 8-4, just because it feels like we probably went through it super duper fast and there was a couple things that we missed. So here's what I'm going to show you. Quick review of something that we already talked about was we have slope-intercept form of a line. Remember that is y equals mx plus b. The important parts right now are m and b. M will always stand for slope. B is the y-intercept. Okay, and if you're not sure what y-intercept means, there's a definition of it here on this paper, so you need to look that up because you'll need to know, like, what does it mean, okay? Okay, so real quickly, just to, you guys already knew, if you're looking at this handout on section 8-4, you already know how to do this first part. We did it in class yesterday, which was Monday. We did this part in class. Okay, so I'm skipping over that and jumping down to example 2. Okay, so if you look at example 2, all right, I'm going to start with number 13. So 13 on this handout says y equals 2/3 x minus 4. Okay, so if you are pulling the slope and the y-intercept, sorry about that. Okay, the slope is going to be 2/3, and the y-intercept is going to be -4. Okay, so we're going to use those two things to make a graph. Okay, so on our graph now, we're going to draw a little graph over here. If you have graph paper, that is super duper. -4, okay. So I'm leaving more room in my negatives because this y-intercept is -4. So that means I'm going to start down here in the negatives. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to count down to -4. So that's my y-intercept. So it's the y-intercept. I'm on the y-axis, and I'm going to go down to -4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's a point. Remember, it is a point on the graph, and it makes this equation true. Okay, so this point, remember that interpreted into a point on a graph would be 0, -4. Okay, now what I'm going to do is use the slope. Remember that slope is the rise over the run. And when I talked about it in class, remember you got to rise up before you can start running. So if my slope is +2 over +3, that means I'm going to rise up 2, 1, 2, and I'm going to run, it's positive, so I'm going to run forwards 3 spaces on my graph. 1, 2, 3 spaces. And my next point goes right there. Then we're going to do the slope again. We're going to use it again. So you start from this point, okay, because this is where I am. It's like a path. You're going up the stairs. So I'm on this stair. I'm right here. I'm going to count again. Up 2 and over 3. So we're going to go up 1, 2, and over 1, 2, 3. So I would be right about here on my graph. Then what you're going to do is take your straight edge and connect those 3 points. I lost my ruler, so I'm going to use this right now. Okay, and now I made a graph. So on your graph, you're going to make 3 points or use that to make 3 points. That's it. There's no calculations. It is literally counting. So I'm going to do another one. So you can watch this as many times as you need to, but I'm going to do another one. So I'm going to pick number 14. Okay, 14 on our paper says y equals 3/4 x minus 3. Okay, so again, I'm going to draw my graph. more space than that, sorry. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm gonna actually think I need to go up a little further. Pretend that's straight. That is not straight. It kind of bothers me. That's okay. Okay, so here's my x, here's my y. Okay, and now my y-intercept is -3. So I'm going to start at -3. That's right here on the y-axis. Okay, now my slope is 3/4. Okay, it's +3 over +4. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to go forward. My rise was 3, my run is 4. So I'm going to run or move, go sideways 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's another point. Now I'm going to go up 3 again from here. 1, 2, 3, and over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's another point. Connect the dots. Notice that my line goes through all the points. And I draw my arrows, and now I am done with my graph. Okay? If I look at number 15 on this handout, the reason that I like number 15, so I'm looking on this handout, okay? Number 15, it says y equals -1/2 x. So just really quickly, okay, you can still see. If I do that, y equals -1/2 x, okay? If I'm looking at that, what does that actually mean for the slope, or the y-intercept? We're supposed to have y equals mx plus b, okay? Well, it's not there. So instead, what's invisibly there is a 0. So here, let's move this up a little bit. Y equals 1/2 x. Invisibly there is a 0, because if here I were to add in +0, it doesn't change the value. So therefore, on this equation, my slope is -1/2, and my y-intercept is 0. This, when it's negative, it doesn't actually matter where you put the negative sign. You could say that it's -1/2, or you could say it's 1/-2. You will still get the same line. Your points that you plot might be different, so if I'm doing it and then say another student is doing it, their points might be different, but our line should be exactly the same, and our y-intercept for both of us is going through 0, okay? So let's graph that one. Okay, over here, I'm gonna graph it. Okay, so my y-intercept is going to be at 0. So that's my first point right here in the middle. So check, done. Now I can do -1, so my rise, if it's -1, that means I'm going to drop down 1. So I'm going to go down 1 and forward 2. 1, 2, right here. Okay, if I did the reverse, okay, so I'm going to go up 1 because that's positive. I could start from here and go up 1, and then -2 means I'd go backwards 2. 1, 2, and I'd be right here. And if you look, those three things are still all on the same line, so it doesn't matter which one you make negative. And I made a line, okay? Easy peasy. Okay, so what if the last example shows you then, or the next example on the back, is the same thing, only these equations are not written in slope-intercept form. You have to turn them into slope-intercept form. So if you look at like number 23 on the back, 23 actually isn't too bad. 23 is pretty easy. 23 says 2x minus y equals -6. So we're going to move this over here. So I have -y equals, and I'm going to put the x first, the x term. So see how this negative 6 minus 2x turns into this. Now I have this negative sign. So everything over here is going to become the opposite. Y equals 2x plus 6. And I'm done. And now we could take this, we'd pull the slope, we'd pull the y-intercept, and we'd graph away. Okay? Remember that here the slope is 2, or you can call it 2 over 1. So then you're going to rise 2 and go over or run 1. Okay? Okay, let's look at one that's not as friendly. Maybe 26 seems less friendly. It's actually not too bad, but it seems less friendly. So 26 says 2x minus 3y equals 6. Okay, so again, we're going to subtract 2x and subtract 2x. So I have negative 3y equals negative 2x plus 6. So this right here, 6 minus 2x, I wrote this way. I like my x term first, just because then it stays in this format. Okay, so now I'm going to divide each side by negative 3. Okay, so this gets canceled. And y equals, so here, negative 2 divided by negative 3. When I have a negative divided by a negative, that's a positive. So it's just going to be 2/3 x, just like that. You can write it as a fraction, totally fine. And then 6 over 3, or negative 3, excuse me, would be negative 2. And now I have this in slope-intercept form. I have my y-intercept, I would graph that, use my slope, or I'd go up 2 and over 3 to make my next points on the graph. Okay? Okay. And then last but not least, this isn't going to be on the quiz tomorrow, but if you look at example 4 on here, it talks about parallel lines, and we'll talk a little bit for a second about that the next time I see you. Okay? But they are pretty, it's an easy concept, it's super duper fast, so we'll talk about that when I see you next. Okay, ladies and gents, I hope that helped you. Please email me if you have any questions, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.